This is Local Legends, the podcast where West Michigan sports takes center stage. Hosted by three local voices who've lived and breathed area sports. Hutton, Oshnok, Bakita. High school football the way it's meant to be, covered by the experts who know it best. This is Local Legends. Welcome back to another episode of the Local Legends podcast. Jason Hutton, Ryan Oshnok. Coach, we are a West Michigan podcast. We are West Michigan people. We love high school football, but we are going to talk state of Michigan because we love it throughout the entire state, right? And I know this is something we talked about when we thought about starting this podcast. And so today we are going to have a coach on that is not from West Michigan, Jake Weingartz, the head coach at Davison.
Absolutely. And so just like with Ty Spencer, Jake was a teammate of mine at Wayne State, right? I don't know if we can call it the cradle of coaches at Wayne State University, but we like to joke about it like that. But Jake has had an unbelievable amount of success at Davison. After taking over at Lapeer East, he became the head football coach at Davison. And I'll be totally honest, I remember when he was going through the process, and myself and a number of our teammates were like, dude, you have got to go and get this job. He's like, well, I'm a Lapeer guy. I love Lapeer. I want to stay at Lapeer. And we kept on pushing him. Davison. Lo and behold, he has a pretty good first year. I think he won, 6 games in his first year. And then all of a sudden in year 2, they go and win a state championship, right? They win a Division I state championship. And so he went from being a coach that's like, hey, man, I'm a really good coach. And we all knew he was a really good coach. But then all of a sudden he gets to that elite type of program and he takes them from here up to here, right? And he's a very good friend of mine. I have the opportunity to talk to him at least daily, it feels like. I think he's an unbelievable football coach, and his team is always really good, filled with a number of Division I prospects and talent, and he's just an all-around great guy, and that's Jake Weingartz.
So, all right, so you and I love it, right? So we're following it everywhere. Do you think it's normal? Do you think all coaches follow high school football as much as they can throughout the state? Do you think they're kind of more focused on their area, or are most coaches just kind of worried about their team and kind of have blinders on to the rest?
I think a little bit of both, but I think that there's this mystique between the east side of the state and the west side of the state. Now, where that line is drawn, I don't know. It depends on who you ask, right? I always feel like Lansing over is the west side, right? Lansing to the east is the east side, right? And I can speak for Jake because I talk to him all the time, but he's always intrigued about the west side of the state, and he's had an unbelievable amount of success on the west side of the state. I don't think he's ever lost to a west side team, right? He's beat Rockford a couple times in the playoffs, beat Granville twice in the regular season in pretty tight games there. But, I think coaches are always, obviously they're worried about their team. But again, if you're like a true savant and you're like a football guy, you want to know what the best teams in your division are doing, right? And he'd be the first one to admit it. He knows he's going to be really good in Division I this year, right? So he also wants to know what's going on in the red, right? He's got the opportunity to call Ty Spencer. And back when Spence was the head coach at Martin Luther King, they scrimmaged Davison, right? It was like, all right, hey, we're the 2 Wayne State guys getting back together, right? And so now he's got the opportunity to call Spence and maybe potentially play him at some point in time. I'll be on the sidelines for that one, wherever that's at, right? But I feel like you want to know who's the best competition in your division. And so you're going to look at the other side of the state. You're going to look at Metro Detroit or up north or wherever that may be. So you're following high school football. I'm shocked if I were to ever talk to a high school football who's never heard of, said team on the east side of the state or west side of the state. I think coaches like to say, well, I'm worried about my team. They're looking at highlights just like everybody else, right? They're looking at stats, they're looking at huddle film, just like we are. We're all interested in see what everybody else is doing.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's go. Jake Weingartz, head coach at Davison, joining us on the Local Legends podcast. 8th season, I believe, at Davison, which is had a pretty incredible run already. But first, before we get into that, let's just set the stage here. So, Coach, you and Ash know each other. So just take us back and give us the background on you two, please.
Yeah, met him on my official visit at Wayne State. He was a year ahead of me. Kind of just hit it off from there and ended up being roommates. And he was the ordained pastor in my wedding. I was in his wedding, and they used to call us the Vanilla Midgets because we kind of, we were always together. So.
Did you always know you were both going to be high school football coaches?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we'd be in bio class, we'd be drawing up plays and really not paying attention. Then I'd cheat off Ash and go from there.
I mean, Jason, in all honesty, in that era, if you look at who played at Wayne State in that era, you've got John Herstein, who's the head coach at North Farmington. You've got Ty Spencer, who won a number of state championships at Martin Luther King. You've got Eric Newton, who's the new head coach at Canton High School. You've got myself at Northview. You got Jake at Davison. At one point in time, Leo Wells was the head coach at Hamtramck. And who else am I missing here, Jake?
He's at Kuzno now, right?
He's at Cuzno, Warren Cuzno now. You've got Scott Wooster, who was there just before we were, and he's now the head coach at Grand Valley. That's what, I mean, I don't know if it's the cradle of coaches, but there's a lot of coaches that have come out of Wayne State University, man.
Yeah. Sounds like the cradle of coaches to me. I love it. That's good stuff. All right, let's talk some Davison football. Coach, you get the job and you win a state championship in your second year. You go to Ford Field in your third year. Wow. How did you have so much success out of the gate, and how has your program grown in the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, we were blessed. We had a really, really good quarterback that second year, Brennan Sullivan. He's at Tulane right now, started at Northwestern, started at Iowa last year. So we had him, and we had a really blue-collar, hard-nosed group of kids. And they were all young, and then COVID hit, and Brennan enrolled early. We ended up having to that was that start and stop season. We ended up having to pull our best wideout and get him ready in a week to play quarterback in the regional final game against Catholic Central. We ended up beating them. Played Rockford the next week, beat them, and then got mollywopped by Donovan Edwards in the finals. So, those 2 years were good. Made it to the semis 2 years ago again. Got Bryce Underwooded, but it's been pretty good the last 8 years.
So my question for you, for these fans here on the west side, we hear a lot in our big school division is the OK Red, right? That's Rockford, that's East Kentwood, that's West Ottawa, that's Hudsonville, Caledonia. Who am I missing here, Jason?
Jenison.
Jenison and Granville, those two, right? So we hear a lot about those. In your league, it's kind of top heavy, if you will, right? There's some really good teams at the top. Can you tell us a little bit about your league, and then potentially how, because you've played a number of these OK Red schools, how do you think your league compares to the OK Red?
Well, we've had really good success against the West Side teams. We beat Granville the last 2 years, twice in a row. We beat Rockford both times we played them. But yeah, our league is very top heavy. Us, Grand Blanc. Grand Blanc's not really a rivalry. They've beat us 2 times in the last 15 tries. So, but they're tough. They beat us last year. That's about it. It's because our league's split north and south. So we have a South SVL and a North SVL. And in the South, it's us, Grand Blanc, Lapeer. Lapeer just went to Division II. So us and Grand Blanc are the only Division I schools in the SVL South. So it's not the toughest league per se, but like Ryan said, it is very top heavy.
So you were part of the 6 wins in your era, and now we've switched to points only. What are the positives and negatives to both, and do you have a preference?
I mean, one of the negatives, like for us, for example, with scheduling, so we have to play the league schedule, right? There's only one other Division I team in our league, which is Grand Blanc. And then they're going to be the only Division I team that we play the entire regular season. So from a point standpoint, if you're a Division I school like us, we could potentially go 9-0 and not have a home playoff game just based on the point system, kind of like Donnie.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I just got to do whatever the MHSA says.
So speaking of that, who are you guys playing this year non-league?
Yeah, so we reached out because both of our out of league contracts expired last year. So we reached out to a bunch of Division I schools and couldn't get anybody to bite. So we're going to play Roseville week 1 at Roseville, and then we play Dangerous Dan Roan and the Fighting Pilots of Warren D. LaSalle week 2 at home, and then we'll go to East Lansing week 6. So those all 3 of those teams are Division II schools. Which again is going to hurt us points wise.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about your squad a little. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think actually DSL might be Division III this year.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, just to piggyback what he said, I mean, we were a 9-0 team that didn't get a home playoff game, and we thought we played a legitimate schedule as well. And it makes it hard. And this year we're playing West Catholic in the first game, and they're a Division V school, yet they're a really good program. So we feel like it's a really good game. And I'm hearing Jake talk about, he's talking about East Lansing. He's talking about De La Salle. He's talking about some of these teams, and Roseville, who's no slouch. You're talking about some legitimate teams that are going to get you ready for the playoffs. However, you're not necessarily always being rewarded point wise. So I think it's
if you're a bigger school, it's going to hurt you,
Mm-hmm. But it will prepare your team for the playoffs playing against those kinds of teams. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Anyway, Jason, go ahead.
Let's talk about your team. Coach. I mean, you've had tremendous success there. How does this team stack up to what you've had in the past, and what are some keys to the Cardinals having a good year in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really excited. Our quarterback, Jackson Dosh, I think he's the best quarterback in the state of Michigan. He was kind of a late bloomer. His sophomore year, he was probably 5'9", 150. And coming into this year, when we did weigh-ins on Monday this week, he was 207. 6 foot, can run. He's third fastest guy on our team, can sling it. Super smart, cerebral with the game, student of the game, loves it, eats it, breathes it. So as far as the, signal caller standpoint, we're in really good shape. Offensive line wise, 4 out of our 5 guys return. Our left tackle, Ben Nichols, 6'6", 315, is committed to Notre Dame. Our right tackle, Cole Rogers, 6'4", 285. He's getting a lot of D2 looks, and then our other guys inside aren't any slouches there either. We've got 2 really good running backs. One of them returning, Jake Weingartz. Then we have a newcomer, Ty Anthony Lewis. We brought him up midway through the season. He played a little bit of running back, played some corner. He's already got a couple MAC offers. So offensively, we should be pretty dynamic in a standpoint where we can spread you out. We can line up in 21 personnel and run power and play action and go from there. Defensively, we have a new D coordinator, which we're also really excited about. We were able to get Chris Farr, who was a head coach at Waterford Mott for the last 10 years, took his team to the semis 2 years ago. Just kind of brought some revamped energy to the defensive side of the ball, more attention to detail, really cut down from a schematic standpoint, and just allowing the kids to get lined up, play fast, not think. So defensively, I think we're going to be a heck of a lot better. 3 of our DBs return, 2 of our D tackles, and then 1 of our linebackers. And we've had some younger guys really step up, commit in the offseason, transform their bodies. And so we're, defensively, we're excited too.
Now, so going into the season, I'm hearing a lot of dudes that are coming back. I hear a lot, new defensive coordinator. Can you talk to us a little bit? How was your summer? What was it like, June, July, and obviously getting in here to August? What did you do to prepare your team to get ready for training camp starting here?
Yeah, so we're kind of in a unique situation. So we're on a balanced calendar. So we didn't get out of school until June 20th. So we had 1 week before dead week, and then we had July, and then boom, we're here in August. So we don't have a huge summer, but we're able to combat that. We have a strength and conditioning class during school that 99% of the kids in that class are varsity football players. So we're able to get a lot done during the school year as far as strength and conditioning, speed, agility, and then install. So, by the time we hit the summer, offense is in, defense is in, and it's just sharpening the sword, getting ready for August 11th, which is right on the doorstep.
Based on what you told us about your quarterback, it sounds like that strength and conditioning program is pretty good. I mean, how does a guy like that put on 57 pounds in 2 years?
Puberty, 1, and then he's a heck of a hard worker, man. I mean, he's a grinder. First guy in, last guy out, pushes himself. We actually gave the kids today off. I'm sitting in our weight room, and I looked out the window, and he's got all of our skill guys out there throwing. So that's just kind of the type of kid he is, hard worker, and we're very excited to see what he does this year.
Now, with you and I, we got an offensive line background. Even though I was a defensive back, you were a wide receiver, but we have both coached offensive line. having the guys that you have up front, how does that make it? I mean, as you go into camp, how good do you feel about those dudes up front? And because you have guys like that up front, what does that playbook look like for you this year?
I mean, we've predominantly been a gap scheme team the last 7 years as far as power, counter, stuff like that. But we're going to switch it up a little bit this year and transition into a little bit of a different scheme schematically, which we'll not talk about. But I think that's really going to complement our ability to run gap scheme, this new scheme that we're going to install. And we've got two really, really good tackles. So with what we're going to try to do this year, it's going to set up great for those guys. It's going to make us a little more multidimensional because we see so many spill overlap teams during the year because everybody sees power and counter, right? That's like the new fad. Like everybody runs it. So being able to install some different schemes up front is going to help those guys out and going to make us a little more varied offensively.
All right, take us through, for those of us who aren't as familiar with high school football in Dayton. You guys are home. What's the atmosphere like? Take us through the experience of high school football at Davison on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, Davison's a really small town. I know we have 1,700 kids in the school, but it's an extremely, extremely small town. Friday night, I mean, we take the field specialties at 5:45. They don't open the gates until 6, and there'll be people lined up. I mean, there's an elementary school probably 200 yards, 300 yards from our game field, and they'll be lined up down the sidewalk all the way back to that school trying to get in. It's standing room only on a Friday night. It's a really, really cool atmosphere. If you haven't experienced it, to go out there and see it. I've got a lot of guys that went and played in college and like, Coach, man, this shit ain't nothing like a home Friday night game on Cardinal Field. So it gets pretty rocking.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Because I would say in over here in West Michigan, we get good crowds, right? We get really good crowds, and sometimes when you get to that Metro Detroit area, the crowds aren't necessarily as big. You being located up in that Flint area, can you talk to us a little bit about some other great atmospheres that you have coached at as a coach at Davison? What are some other venues around that area that are maybe some must-see places for a fan to go and see?
Yeah, I mean, if you've been to Grand Blanc Stadium or seen pictures of it, it's better than most Division II schools. Now, obviously, they don't ever really beat us, so going over there to play Little Brother is always really, really fun. But they got a really nice venue. A lot of money over there. They got 2,500 kids in their school, so that's a good place to play. I mean, the best atmosphere I've ever been in was 2 years ago when we played the semis at Rockford. I mean, that was, and I know we're trying to talk about East Side, but I mean, it was insane. I think there was like 13,000 some people there. It was crazy. But as far as over here goes, I mean, again, Grand Blanc's good. Going over to Lapierre's good, even though most of their fans leave after halftime because it's a running clock. So that's another good one too.
Taking shots at your alma mater now?
No, my alma mater's gone. Back when I went to school, it was East and West, and now they're the Lightning, like a hockey team or something. So I have no allegiance to that school.
I love it. What other schools in the area you think are going to be pretty good this year? Kind of
Heritage. I know you and I talked. I mean, they've always got a ton of athletes, really, really well coached. So they're going to be tough. Grand Blanc's always tough from an athletic standpoint. They've got dudes all over the field that can run. So those two teams are going to be tough in our league. Clarkston's always really good. Hard to prepare. I mean, they run the crap out of inside zone, mid zone, outside zone, which isn't something that teams see a lot nowadays, especially with their ability to run it. And yeah.
Now, and what about, because you guys each year you have to make a trip up to Traverse City. Is that correct? Because they're a part of the league?
Yeah, so we'll go so we play at Traverse City Central this year. Well, we play Traverse City Central at Thurlby Field.
And that's every year because they are a part of that top half of your league, correct?
Right. So there are crossovers. So they do it by population base. So the biggest team in the north plays the biggest team in the south. second biggest team in the North plays the second biggest in the South. So Central's number 2 in the North. We're number 2 in the South. So that's our crossover.
Gotcha.
So while we're on this subject, Clarkston is not too far from you. They're a D1 school. Why don't we see Davison and Clarkston play in the regular season?
We used to for a while. My first, well, no, it wasn't my first years, but we played them 2 years in a row at the big house to open the year. And then that contract didn't get renewed, so we don't play them anymore. I mean, but they're always in our district, right? Because us, Grand Blanc, and Clarkson are the only Division I schools in this area. So we always see them in the playoffs at some point.
So that's an interesting topic. So over here, when Division I, the OK Red schools, you're going to get 4 OK Red schools that makes the playoffs. Those 4 teams are going to make up the district every year. It's just without fail, they're going to have to play each other again. I don't think they like that too much. As a head coach, I mean, is there at least something you enjoy about, we know we're going to play a team we haven't played yet in the playoffs? Is that good?
Yeah, I think, from a seeding standpoint, I think we need to go to a regional seeding just so that doesn't happen year in and year out. Like Rockford and Granville are going to play every year in the regular season. They're going to play every year in the playoffs, which is, it is what it is. When we get to play Grand Blanc twice, that's always fun because you get to beat them twice. But, I think they really need to go to a regional seeding format just so we can see different teams play, right? Instead of the same old district of, Davison, Lapeer, Clarkston, Grand Blanc. That's going to be our district 90% of the time. So if they go to regional seeding, I think it'd be, a new challenge and just kind of a breath of fresh air for the state of football here in Michigan, especially when it comes to the postseason.
Hey, Ash, I used to think I wanted to at some point go see a Davison Grand Blanc game, but sounds like it's not going to be worth my time. Not much of a rivalry.
I think, honestly, though, I think the atmosphere at those games have got to be legit. Because, we think about on the west side, some of the best atmospheres are the Rockford, Granville, or even, I don't know, you probably remember when it was Caledonia and Rockford, and I think it was in the second round or something like that. Holy cow, it was packed. It was loaded. But I can only imagine. I've never been to a Davison game. No, I shouldn't say that. I was at the Davison Rockford game. I was on your side. Yes, yeah, that was live. You were there. But I think that the atmosphere at a Davison Grand Blanc game, or even a good Davison Lapeer game, is just as good as an OK Red atmosphere in my mind.
Yeah, it gets pretty hopping.
Awesome. That's all I got. Ash, you got anything else for Coach?
Gosh, I don't think so. We it's always been an honor of mine. So I'm 1 year older than Jake, at least graduation year. And just to see how well and how much success he's had, because humble beginnings, man. He was the head coach at Lapeer East at a super young age, and probably, and you could probably even say better than I. Probably some of your best coaching jobs, like the best job you've ever done, is even that 1 year you went 6-3. You remember the year you went 6-3, and I think you lost to St. Mary's in the first round.
Yeah.
You're dealing with, you had like 30 kids on the team, and now to see him take the Davison job and take that next step where Davison, he's going to be perennially in the top 20 in everybody's preseason poll, right? And if I were to make a preseason poll, I don't see any reason why they're not a top 3 or top 5 school in the state of Michigan. So this guy's done a bunch. He's really helped me out, and I enjoy my daily phone calls with none other than J Dub over there.
Yeah, no, thanks. I appreciate it, Ash. And Ash has taught me a lot along the way as far as, from a football standpoint and just pretty much everything, involving the game. So I owe a lot and most of my success to, we call him Father Don because he's been a ordained minister in a lot of our friend weddings, the bread we call it. So, yeah, Ash has taught me a lot, man. I appreciate it.
I'm glad we got that story because earlier you called him Don for going 9-0 and not making a home playoff game. I didn't know. That went right over me. I didn't know what that was. So
yeah, his middle name's Donald, so we call him Father Don because he's always, blessing most of our marriages, just not mine.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for being on with us. Good luck this year. Hopefully we'll see you again. We'll talk to you again at some point during the season.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, that was fun. That was fun. That was my first interaction with Coach Weingartz there, and certainly an entertaining guy, that's for sure. So we appreciate having him on. Let's just talk Division One here, Coach, if we can for a minute, because I know this was something when we talked about the podcast. This is something we want to do. We want to talk. You know, we can talk each division, but since we're talking to a Division One coach, let's talk Division One. I don't think there's a whole lot of argument, at least not at this point, against Cass Tech, right? Everybody I talked to, I think you're in that boat. Like they won the state championship last year. They were pretty young, honestly, and I think they're the team to beat in D1. Any reason not to believe
No, I
that?
don't think so. I mean, they got a quarterback coming back who's been in the fire. They've got unbelievable skill. They're great up front, right? I think, and I think they have a schedule where they can continue to improve week to week, right? Obviously, in the PSL, I mean, they've got a great non-league schedule, and I get that. But in the PSL, it's gonna be them and Martin Luther King, right? And I think it's gonna be a great game. So I could see even like a 3-loss Cass Tech team in the regular season because they play a tough. I think they open up with Toledo Central Catholic. I mean, that's going to be a great football game. So let's say they drop that. Let's say they drop one to King and beat King, split them in the city championship or whatever it is. Maybe it's a 2 or 3-loss Cass Tech team. I still think it's the number one team in the state without question, right? I mean, you've got quarterback coming back, you got skill coming back, you got a great offensive line. They've been in the fire. You know, I think that they are primed to make another one.
Yeah, it's crazy to think a year ago at this time they weren't even playing Donald Tabron at quarterback. Now, of course, he was a freshman, right? But they come over here and they play Rockford in week 1, and Rockford kind of handles them. You know, Rockford gets out to the big lead. Cass Tech makes a run. Rockford holds on, but Cass Tech ends up with that freshman growing throughout the year, getting more playing time. Played great against Huntsville in the state championship game. You know, winning the state title, and they got a bunch of guys back. So after that, I think it gets a little interesting. A lot of people like Detroit Catholic Central. Obviously, they're really good with Sam Gash going to Michigan State. Can really run. But you know, there's a lot of teams here we have to throw in the mix. I mean, Hudsonville and Granville, certainly. Rockford, what do you do with them? But what about the Clarkstons, the Salines, the Bellevilles? I mean, we haven't been able to talk about D1 without mentioning Belleville for the last 4 years. There's still a lot of people really high on Belleville. This podcast maybe not as high as others. I mean, Bryce Underwood's just. I mean, you're not going to replace that guy. They have to take a step back. Do they not?
I struggle right now to say I think that Belleville is going to be one of those top teams in Division One because you start naming those other schools, right? You look at Saline; they've got a returning quarterback who's going to Miami of Ohio. Okay, you look at obviously we talked about Cass Tech. We look at a school like Davison, right? They've got their quarterbacks committed to Western Michigan, and he's a great football player. I just think at the Division One level, it makes a huge difference when you've got a trigger man who's back. When I say trigger man, I'm talking about the quarterback. You've got a guy who's coming back, who's got experience. And right now, to me, Belleville doesn't have that, right? And for me as a football coach to see them in the summertime, see them throwing, do they have great skill? They've got great skill, right? But they rotated quarterbacks in the summertime. And I get that philosophy as a head football coach. But I also get the philosophy that, like, I've got a guy and he's going to get really good with my receivers on a very regular basis, right? We're looking at, 3 years out from when they lost their last head coach. And he had a lot of good players coming into the system. Where are they going to be, right? So maybe I'm not as high on Belleville as some of the other publications. I mean, obviously, I think they're going to be a really good team. I think they're going to compete for a league championship. But when I look at my Division I rankings, I think it's a clear cut. Cass Tech 1, Catholic Central 2. I think a school like Davison is as high as 3, right? I mean, you've got a tackle going to Notre Dame. You've got a quarterback going to Michigan. You've got a coach with their kind of pedigree, right? Like, and you look at they're going to be tested early. Maybe their league not as much, but it sounds like, I mean, the Grand Blank game is going to be a great one if I could figure out how to get to that. I mean, that's going to be a great one regardless, right? So you think about that. They've got a schedule that's going to allow them to get better and better as the season goes on. They're going to be tested early with De La Salle and Roseville. But I see those teams in the top 5. You look at Clarkson, since Coach Richardson has been gone, that haven't made those same kinds of runs as they were used to, maybe in those mid 2010s, right? I look at some of these other teams, Macomb, Dakota, haven't seen them make that kind of run recently. Not to say that they can't do it right now, but I'm a big fan of the OK Red, right? I mean, I think a school like Hudsonville, until somebody knocks them off, it's going to be tough, right? I think Granville, they have an opportunity to make a run. We talked about Howell, right? Howell is a team that won their league, beat Belleville in the regular season, right? Can Belleville beat them in the KLLA? I don't know. I mean, they're in year 3 of running the tight T system, and not a lot of teams on the east side of the state are running that. Okay, led by a great head coach who, by the way, I saw in Mackinac Island on our summer vacation. So it was great to see him out there. And he thinks they're going to be a really good football team. And I don't see any reason why they're not. So I am intrigued. I do think it's a clear cut. Cass Tech, Catholic Central, Detroit Catholic Central in Division One. And I'll be interested to see how the brackets come out, because sometimes when we've seen a Cass Tech Catholic Central final, right? Last year, I think we saw him play in the semifinal, but it would be great to see him in the finals.
Let's do our D1 top 10 here. Let me just kind of go through this, and you tell me where it needs to be off. So we're going Cass Tech 1, Detroit Catholic Central 2, Davison 3. We're solid there, right?
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree.
All right. And by the way, we're higher on Davison than everybody else. Just for instance, the D Zone has Davison 8. Michigan Prep Frenzy has Davison 7. So we have them 3. All right. How about Hudsonville 4? Do you want somebody else 4? Are you okay with that?
No, I again, until someone knocks them off, right? I think we're going to see week 1, right? We probably have changed it after week 1. I mean, we got a Hudsonville Byron Center matchup. I think two of the best teams in Division 1 and Division 2, obviously both played for a state championship. That's going to tell a lot how good Hudsonville is going to be. I'm very comfortable with Hudsonville at 4.
All right. And then Rochester Adams 5. How do you feel about Rochester Adams? Again, we're higher on them than anybody else.
Yeah, I love Rochester Adams, right? Tony Petrito, who was, I believe, college roommates with Tony Anise, right? The great Tony Anise at Ferris State. They run the same similar kinds of offense. To me, from our West Side folks, Rochester Adams is the Byron Center of today for the last 20 years. They've been unbelievable in the OAA in these last 20 years. Great coaching. I think they do just an outstanding job preparing their kids to play. They've won a ton of big games. I think they lost to Belleville in a pretty good game in the finals a couple years back. I think they're a very good football team.
Granville 6. You like it?
Hey, I'm a Granville fan. I'm not going to lie. I think they're going to be really good. I think Tank Terry is one of the best backs. And I shouldn't say he's probably arguably, I'm high on our guy, Jalen Gann at Northview, but like in Division 1, I think he's the best Division 1 tailback in West Michigan. And I think he can be really good.
All right, 7 through 10. How about Dakota, Lake Orion, Saline, East Kentwood?
Yeah, let me start with Saline. You're right. They've got a quarterback by the last name of Carr for all of us.
Tommy Carr.
Right? So Tommy Carr, he's their quarterback. They've got a tight end committed to Georgia, right? Who's a very good player. So they're good on offense, right? Coached by Kyle Short, who's a Rockford guy, right? Do they open up with Rockford this year?
They open up at Rockford, yes.
I think, again, just kind of like that Hudsonville Byron Center matchup. I look at that Saline Rockford matchup. I think that's going to tell a lot about kind of like that 7 through 10 ranking. I like Saline at 7. I'm not as high on Dakota yet right now, right? I kind of a little bit of an element of an unknown. On that far east side, I'm a little bit more familiar with the De La Salles of the world and the Chippewa Valleys. I do like Rockford. I think they're going to be sneaky good, right? I think you look at their coaching staff. I mean, has anybody won more games or has a higher winning percentage than Brent Cummings in the state of Michigan? I think he's lost like 5 games as a head football coach, and I know they've all been in the playoffs, but he's unbelievable, right? Vanderveen is the defensive coordinator. If there's one guy who can stop the T, it's him. I don't know if he's got enough magic to do it twice against Granville, right? I do like them. I think that they're, 150 strong or whatever it may be. I think they're just a great football program from a great football town. I'm trying to think who are some of the other teams you mentioned there again off the top of my head. Lake Orion. We threw against Lake Orion in the summertime. Did think that they were really skillful. I think they're going to be a very good football team. Chris Bell is a great football coach. He's won a state championship before. I don't know if I see him in the top 10 at this point. Go through a couple more right there. I'm sorry. I'm on a roll here.
All right, so we have Dakota or Lake Orion, Saline, East Kentwood. So if we're not going to put Lake Orion in the top 10, who do you want to put in? Rockford, Belleville, Grand Blanc, Clarkston, Howell.
I'm going Kentwood. Man. I think we got to go with Howell. I think we'll go with Howell. I think their schedule's set up. I think their biggest game of the year is going to be against Belleville, who they knocked off last year, and Belleville's obviously going to drop. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Howell be like a 9-0 again. Yeah, let's put Howell in there. I like that.
All right, that's good stuff. All right, so you're good with Saline at 8.
Yep.
East Kentwood 9. Were we good on Dakota at 7? Or is that too high for them?
I think it's a little high, but I would see maybe Saline at 7.
At 7?
Yeah. Maybe
Dakota at 8?
Yeah, Dakota at 8. Yeah.
All right, so we'll go Saline 7. Do you want to go Dakota 8, or do you want to go? You want to go Howell 10?
No, yeah, Dakota 8, Kentwood 9, Howell 10.
All right, there it is. We have it. And we've got Rockford and Belleville just outside our top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. That's some good stuff there. And of
I
course,
think
yeah, go ahead.
No, I think it's really good. I think it's a quality top 10. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, we've seen a lot of these guys in the off season, and, you know, I mean, West Michigan's a good football community. And I think those 3 teams that are in the top 10, I think they're very well deserving of it.
And we know this will be, I mean, in Division One of all places, like there's just so little room. There's very just little difference, right, between 3 and 13. I mean,
And if you look at Division One, these are blue blood programs, right? These teams are always really good, and that's, to me, the Division One is that division. What you do get an upstart every now and then, right? I remember I was head coach at West Ottawa, like all of a sudden, like, oh wow, we're ranked in the top 10, and I thought we were very deserving, so losing in the 3rd round, right? But like year in and year out, it's about the same 15 programs, which is different than Division 2 through 8, in my opinion. But there's some blue blood programs in Division One that I think you could be pretty safe to bet on those.
It's gonna be fun. It'll be fun to follow. Thursday, August 28th, we'll be on after week 1 of the high school football season. We'll be reacting to this. We'll be having coaches on. It's gonna be fun. We'll have a couple more preview episodes though between now and then. So that's our D1 rankings. Our thanks to Coach Jake Weingartz, head coach at Davison. We'll have more episodes coming soon.